Okay, so this is the first time this season where I have recorded the video, and I'm like, okay, yep, that was good. I went to upload it, I've stood there waiting as it was uploading, and I decided, you know what, no, I'm gonna restart. Because honestly, I look back, I didn't like what I said there. I did not do this game justice. I don't get me wrong, it wasn't like a freak out. I really didn't freak out at all. It's just, I felt like I left things out of the game that I should not have, and so I'm gonna go back and do this again. So yeah. Oilers lose 4-1 to the Winnipeg Jets in round 1, game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And, listen, I don't think I'm alone in this group. Oilers fans, be worried. And I'm gonna tell you why. I am gonna tell you why at the end of this video. Yep, I'm gonna leave you hanging. I am, but it's gonna make a lot more sense once I go through the game and explain what happened. So yeah, game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I was really excited. Got my jersey on. I was hyped up. I sat at the couch tonight instead of sitting at the desk. I was excited because I had confidence. I had hope. I had optimism. My team would go out there, play a fast, physical game, maybe win 3-1 or something like that, you know? Going into the game, no big lineup changes, you know? Slater Cuckoo in, he's confirmed as the third pair lefty. That doesn't really matter. Zach Kassian back in the lineup, playing alongside of Ryan McLeod and James Neal. Josh Archibald gets paired up with Jujhar Khaira and Alex Chiasson. Okay, cool. And then we find out about the Jets and find out that both Nikolai Ehlers and Pierre-Luc Dubois were going to be out. And that is big because it has been talked about how big those two pieces could be for the Jets in this playoff run. Nikolai Ehlers was their best forward over the regular season, and so if he was available, if he was healthy for this game, that could have made a big difference. And also, Pierre-Luc Dubois, yes, he's struggled in Winnipeg, but he's a big guy, he's got some speed, he's got some skill. Honestly, he's someone that can help your team out on both ends of the ice when you're playing the Edmonton Oilers. Now you're missing both of them. You really have to dig a little bit deeper into your forward depth and make things work if you're the Jets. And all I can think to myself is, I don't care how we do it. If we don't win this game, then this team is screwed. And well, we didn't win this game. I'm gonna review it a bit differently tonight. Normally I go through note by note, but honestly this game was a little bit weird in every capacity. There was things all over the place, so I'm just gonna kind of go through period by period, I guess, and talk about big events in the process. The first period was a very low action period, but I also now look back on that because we get the power of hindsight, and I see that, boy, was that period a wasted opportunity. I'm pretty sure there were 50 combined hits in that first period, but only like 12 combined shots in the first period. It was a very dump and chase, chippy, physical first period to start off the playoffs. And the reason I now look back on that as a wasted opportunity is because, man, if we had found a way to break through, if we had had a bit more urgency, actually, no, scratch that. If we had had any urgency in the first period, I bet you we could have scored. And, you know, like, obviously I'm not an all-seer. You know, I don't know that for sure, but all I'll say is this, right? It wasn't just the Jets shutting down McDavid that held us back offensively in that first. It really did look like it was a lack of effort from some of the guys on that team. And I think that that's a theme of tonight. That the guys on this team, you need to perform. They just could not produce. And they were not showing enough urgency in a playoff game. And I'll explain why I think that. Again, there's going to be conclusions at the end of this video to look for. Shout out, though, to 4 players on the Edmonton Oilers who had a good first period, in my opinion. 3 of them are on the 4th line. I thought Josh Archibald, Jujhar Khaira, and Alex Chiasson had a very good first period. And honestly, it wasn't even very good. But they were the only line in the first 3 quarters of that period that could get any offensive zone time. They were the only line that actually looked like they could do something out there for the first part of the game. And also a shout out to Jesse Puljujarvi, because in that game, in that first period, he got a couple good shots. He looked like he wanted to win that game. And honestly, you can make an argument. Actually, know what? No, it's not an argument. He was the team's MVP tonight. He was the best player on the team, and he was the only reason that they were ever in it to begin with. Then we get into the second period, and really we go from a bit of a back and forth deadlock to the Oilers outplaying the Winnipeg Jets. The Oilers had a great second period, and we'll get to why it's a little bit dampened here in a moment. But they did have a very good second period. They put on a lot of pressure. They put up a lot of shots. This was their best period of the game, and they did look good in it. And this is where they also scored. The play starts about midway through the second period. Connor McDavid and Dominic Cahoon are down in the left-hand side corner. They are in a bit of a puck battle there with Dylan DeMello, who just picked up the puck. They end up pressuring the puck off of him. McDavid has it on his stick. He passes it up to Darnell Nurse at the point, who throws it over to Tyson Barrie on the other side. Barrie shoots a shot through. It bounces off of Connor Hellebuyck and right to Jesse Puljujarvi. He moves around a little bit, snipes it on net, and boom. It's 1-0 for the Edmonton Oilers. It's Jesse Puljujarvi scoring. It's a good setup. It's what you need to do in the playoffs to score goals. 1-0 for the Edmonton Oilers. Then, not long after, any momentum they built up, it immediately gets crushed. Because after not so good neutral zone play, the Jets end up storming into the zone. Tucker Poolman, of all people, right-hand defensive defenseman who didn't score a goal in the regular season, Tucker Poolman, walks in, drops it back to Blake Wheeler, who shoots it on. It bounces off Smith. Poolman tucks it in. It's 1-1. Okay, so here's the thing, right? And this is why I really wanted to re-record. I did not emphasize in my first take of it that the Oilers did outplay the Jets for most of this game. They outplayed them in the second period. For most of the third, I think that the Oilers did outplay the Jets. And so I wanted to acknowledge that. However, to counter that, I also want to acknowledge that none of it matters. Because at the end of the day, the Jets ended up having more goals than we did. You can play as well as you want. Honestly, I think a really good example of it is yeah, you know what? A really good example of it is that Dallas-Detroit game. Do you remember that weird Dallas-Detroit game from the regular season where Dallas had like 40 shots on net and weren't able to beat Jonathan Bernier, but the Red Wings only had like a single-digit shots and they were up 1-0? Now, the Dallas Stars ended up winning that, but I want you to imagine here for a sec that the Detroit Red Wings won that. They got outplayed, but they were still able to win that game. That's what tonight is. It doesn't matter how good you played. You did not score. There's nothing to look forward to if you just played good, if you could not win against an injured team missing 2 of its top 6 forwards and on a bad stretch going into this. That's not a good sign. Who thought it was good? I know there's going to be people out there who are optimistic, but who thought that that was telling of this team? We head into the third period. It's a 1-1 tie. There was also a penalty in there, a Paul Stastny high sticking call. The Oilers couldn't even get an ounce of momentum on the power play. It was not good. We head into the third, and halfway through the third period, we get what ends up being the game-winning goal, and it is honestly one of the weirdest goals I've seen this year, if not all time. Logan Stanley, at the point in the offensive zone, slaps it on net. Dominic Tonnato ends up getting a tip on it, and I think it also bounced off of something else as well, and it goes in the back of the net, but it bounces out so quickly that nobody ends up actually seeing it. So the play goes on for 20 more seconds until the goal horn sounds, and the Jets start celebrating, and oh, the Jets scored. They got a goal, and it's 2-1. Deflating way to find out you were scored on. And honestly, the Oilers got shots after this, but that goal was the death bell. I had no faith in them winning that game after that goal was scored. Once the Jets had scored, with the way the game was going, I just said to myself, they're losing. It's over. And I said that for 11 minutes straight, and then they lost. There was 2 more empty netters. They also tried putting together the big line of Dry, McDavid, and Puljujarvi, and it didn't work. And now we sit here in a really, really, really bad situation. Like, really bad. Because think about it. Going into this, we had every conceivable notion that we were the better team. We were playing great going into the playoffs. The Jets weren't. We had our team fully healthy and they were missing 2 of their top 6 forwards. We outplayed them for most of this game. And we still couldn't find a way to win. And here's why I'm really worried, right? I said that I was worried off the top. I said I was scared. Here's why. This is giving me, unless it's not as big of a difference, but this is giving me vibes of what happened last year. Think back to when Edmonton played Chicago in the play-in round last year. Edmonton had every conceivable notion that they were the better team going into that series, right? They had the best power play in 30 years. They had a team that looked like it could win a round or two. They had all the talent in the world. Everyone said that they were going to beat Chicago. And then Chicago came out and surprised them in Game 1. Now, frankly, it was for different reasons. Last year, when Chicago surprised us in Round 1, it was because Mike Smith failed to be a goalie. This year, it was really just because our offense failed to be able to do a thing. But still, eerily similar situations, and I don't want to give Oilers fans PTSD. Personally, I cannot be hurt, so it doesn't really hurt me that much to think about it. But we ended up losing that. We ended up losing that series. And I don't know what it is, but a part of me feels like unless the Oilers really come out in Game 2, that this could be a really telling moment in this series. Think about it. Sure, a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's just one game, Oilers in 5, they're still going to win it. The first game means a lot. The first game changes the momentum of an entire series. You want a good example of Game 1s that changed the entire outlook of series? Columbus versus Tampa in 2019. Tampa Bay went out and had a 3-0 lead at the end of the first, and then Columbus completely destroyed them for the rest of that game. And at the end of that game, wasn't everyone that changed their mind, but a lot of people were like, oh, Tampa might not be able to do this. And yes, this is a much smaller scale we're talking about here. This is not best team in 20 years taking on a wild card team. This is the second and third best team in the North going toe-to-toe. But Game 1 means a lot. And I think that Winnipeg now have that confidence that they were missing for a while. They're getting their guys back. I don't know if Dubois or Ehlers will be back in for Game 2. Honestly, I think Dubois might be back. Just because I didn't think his injury was that major. So I think he would probably be back. Ehlers might be back as well. You could not beat the Jets when they were the most vulnerable. That's another point I'm trying to make. You couldn't beat them when they were the most vulnerable. How are you going to beat them when they're at their best? That's what I'm worried about right now as well. And the other thing, there's so many things that worry me after this game. Another one is just the offensive urgency not being there. I'm sorry, but you cannot tell me that was the best that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl had to offer. And I know, in Oilers Nation, it's in ways sacrilege to go after the top players because they are like, to most of the fan base, they're like messiahs, right? They're the people you preach to. And they have done a lot for us this year. But where was the urgency? That's what I want to know. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they were bad. I'm not saying they were horrific. But what I'm saying is that when you're in the playoffs and you have those type of guys, you need 10 out of 10 efforts every night. In the regular season, we got 10 out of 10 efforts every night. And I don't feel like we got a 10 out of 10 effort out of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl tonight. So, with all that being said, talking about how this is really similar to last year, talking about how the offense lacked urgency, talking about how much a game one can change the entire outlook of a series. What do the Oilers need to do in game two to beat the Winnipeg Jets? First things first, they need to shake tonight off. They need to pretend like tonight did not happen, and they need to focus on winning the next 4 games. That's what they need to do. Okay? Now, if you saw my prediction, I said it was going to go to 6, right? And I have a feeling it will go to 6 games. But if the Edmonton Oilers want to beat the Winnipeg Jets, they have to focus on playing perfect for the rest of this playoff series. They can't take a half day. Everyone has to play to the best of their ability at this point. They need to go out there, and they cannot let Winnipeg be the aggressor. Tonight, in the first period, Winnipeg out-hit us, and I think they out-hit us fully in the game. They can't do that. Game 2, you have to go out there and you have to be the ones aggressive. You have to be the ones taking it to them. You cannot play, and you can take this for what you will. I think it's a good way of putting it. You can't play on your back foot the whole game. You can't play as a team trying to weather the storm, because that's just not gonna work. You're supposed to be able to use Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl to create storms. You're not supposed to sit there in a shelter defending one. They need to come out. They need to show that urgency that they had in the regular season. They need to just play calm, and they need to focus on winning that game. They need to get an early lead. I think that the best way to do it is just throw everything at trying to get the early lead, and then going from there. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm not a head coach. There's a reason I'm not. It's not just because I'm 16. It's also because I'm not the brightest mind in hockey. But they need to do more than what they did, because tonight was not the A game effort. All right. Yes, you don't need. It's not classified as an A+ effort if you outplay a team. You could have a D- effort, and you could still outperform a team if they're playing as an F. And I'm not saying Winnipeg was an F tonight. I'm just saying that just because we outplayed the Jets, it doesn't mean that we were exceptional. And I think the fact we didn't win shows it. We did not win this game. Connor Hellebuyck shut us down. I'm forgetting about him. The defense for us was not good enough tonight. But they were not the biggest issue in my opinion. Same thing with Mike Smith. I think the defense was pretty bad, but I think it was more so the neutral zone play, and it was just not enough aggression on the forward core. And like I said, last year is ringing in the back of my head right now. All I can think about is the fact that I'm saying a lot of the things I thought last year. I'm starting to get worried. I am really starting to get worried. Game 1's in the books. Game 2 is on Friday night. We need to just hope for a better effort, and we just need to hope that this team can put it all together. What did you think of the Oilers game? By the way, I'm just thinking about it now. The best idea I could have ever made was re-recording this. I really like what I've said in this video better, and I think it does the game a lot more justice. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all Game 2 on Friday night in Edmonton. For the love of God, please bring the A game that I know you can bring. Do not let Winnipeg take this. Don't let Winnipeg win this. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time, and goodbye for now.